Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On-Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on-demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stluke'sonline.org.
In collaboration with Boise State Public Radio, the Community Library presents a new podcast, Sheep Stories. I'm host Vance Cunningham. Join me as we listen through the archives of the Trailing of the Sheep Festival to learn about the Scottish, Basque, and Peruvian immigrants foundational to the sheep herding industry over the past century. Hear their stories of traveling to Idaho and learning the language of the sheep. Find Sheep Stories wherever you get your podcasts and at boisestatepublicradio.org.
More Idaho Matters now. I'm Gemma Gaudette. Last week, the Idaho Transportation Department announced that over the summer, almost one person per day was killed in a traffic crash here in the Gem State. During a 100-day period, 88 people died. 9 of those were in Ada County, 8 were in Canyon County. 9 of those were in Ada County, 8 were in Canyon County. Now, the Boise Bicycle Project wants to help bring those numbers down while showing everyone what a car-free community space can look like. So this Sunday, they're hosting Open Streets Boise along a mile of Ustick Road in West Boise. Devin McComas is the executive director of the Boise Bicycle Project, and he's joining us once again to talk more about this. Devin, nice to have you back on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today.
So Devin, remind us what Open Streets Boise is and what happens when you do this event.
Sure. So Open Streets Boise is the Boise Bicycle Project's signature community event. And really what we do is we close close to a mile of arterial roadway in Boise, and we invite the community into the street to take part in art and food and music, but basically to walk, bike, and roll through that street in a safe environment for the day.
Is Open Streets a national phenomenon, Devin?
Yeah, so Open Streets is actually a global phenomenon. It started as an event called Cyclovia in Colombia and Bogota in the 1970s. And really the drive behind it was similarly, they were feeling like streets weren't a safe place, like there weren't open spaces for families to go. And they began to close down streets on Sundays and invite the community in to see what a street could feel like. Today in Bogota, on some Sundays, they have up to 90 miles of roadway closed.
Oh, wow. Okay, so how many people did you have in the streets during last year's event? And what was their reaction to this?
Yeah, so last year was our first iteration of Open Streets Boise. We had adapted from Boise Goathead Fest downtown. We had just moved it into a different neighborhood. This event's going to go into different neighborhoods in Boise every single year. We are sort of guesstimating with the help of BPD, but we are saying there are upwards of 5,000 people joined us on Latah, and we had a great day in the street. It was really curious to see the community's reaction because it was a little bit of a, if you build it, they will come. We didn't know how many people were going to come, but it was also really great to see families come and have a great day in the street, to see businesses on the route really feel like they're featured. And then also that neighborhood association who we work with to put on the event really feel like they got to show off all the great, unique things about their neighborhood.
And you're planning this one, as I mentioned, around Ustick Road. You say there's a really serious transportation gap there, right? So what does that mean exactly?
Well, I think the part of going into those streets is you get to highlight that neighborhood. And so it's been great to be in the West Bench in the Winstead Park neighborhood and work with that neighborhood. But you're also seeing, for instance, if I ride my bike from BBP to the Winstead Park neighborhood, I have 3 arterial road crossings to get there. They might have a bicycle facility on some of it. They might not have a sidewalk on some of the roads. So I think it's also a really interesting place for us to come in and say, hey, the community this event creates is great. And when we're together in community, can we talk about what we could do to make sure that this neighborhood feels safe to get to that elementary school, to get to that coffee shop?
So, Devin, I mentioned how many traffic deaths we've had over the summer. Is part of your goal, I would think, to try and bring that number down?
Yeah, absolutely. At BBP, we're like a true believer in what a bicycle does for people. We really believe in the opportunity and the freedom it brings. And at the same time, we're like a believer in the community that gathers around a bicycle. So for us, this event is about let's close that street and make sure it's safe for pedestrians and we can ride our bikes. And while that community is together, can we have a conversation about what safe streets looks like and how we can work together to lobby at a local level, at a municipal level, and at a state level to say, this isn't good enough. We're not okay with having the highest traffic death rate in 20 years. We're not okay with having 100 deadliest days where someone died every single day. We need safe infrastructure for pedestrians, for bicycles, for motorists. It's less safe for motorists if we don't have that infrastructure. And so for us, it's also a chance to bring people together to say, what do we do tomorrow to make sure the street feels as safe as it does today?
Mhm. I have to say, Devin, just anecdotally, I mean, we have a 17-year-old and he has a driver's license. And so, went through the whole process of teaching him how to drive. And I'll tell you this, I get highly worried about him as a motorist, really navigating a lot of the streets, in particular in the downtown area of Boise, just
Mhm.
because of the addition of bicyclists, of pedestrians. There's just more foot traffic. There's so
Mhm.
much more for him to have to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
And and I think it takes all of us to make everyone safer, whether you're in a car or on foot or on a bicycle. And it seems sometimes that there's this push and pull of, well, if you're a cyclist, you don't like cars, or if you're a motorist, you don't want those cyclists on the road or those pedestrians. And is that almost a misperception? Because as we told our son, I'm like, I don't care what the law is, you always let a pedestrian or a bicyclist go first.
Yeah, I think that a tenet of safe design is that if it's safe for the most vulnerable user, it's safe for all users. And so
Mm,
as we're pushing to say, can we have safe facilities for pedestrians? It's really gonna be safer for a motorist because maybe they don't have that negative interaction with a pedestrian. And that's really where we'd like to move the conversation to, and saying like, just like you
yeah.
said, if we raise the water for everybody, everyone will be safer. And that just means that we have to prioritize that with our local and state leaders.
So what else are you hoping that folks come away from this upcoming event this weekend?
Yeah, so the safety part and the open streets part, don't get me wrong, is tenet to what we do. And at the same time, like I said earlier, like we are a community organization, like we believe in the power of community. And so gathering community in the streets in Ustick is such a cool way for people to come together. We'll have upwards of 50 community organizations talking about the good work they do in the community. We'll have local artists and musicians and DJs playing on stages. We'll have local food. And so it's also really a celebration of Boise and what our community can do. This event is actually funded with the City of Boise's neighborhood investment program. So we're going to go neighborhood to neighborhood each year. And so it's such a cool way for us to say, hey, if you haven't been out to Ustick Road and seen what the West Bench has to offer, you haven't been to Common Ground Coffee or Tropical FM or all these great businesses, come see what's happening out here. Come see what life is like out here and why we have such a vibrant city. And then also the flip side of that is this incredible culture in these incredible neighborhoods we need to continue to invest in to make sure that they're safe and that we can get there and that we're growing the city in the fair and safe way we want it to grow.
I have just less than a minute with you, Devin. Can you tell folks, we know it's on Ustick, but tell us exactly where and when
Mhm.
the event is.
Yeah, so it's Sunday, September 28th. The event's going to run from noon to 5 p.m. The road will be closed earlier because we're going to get all that fun stuff set up in the road. And it's on Cole Road, or excuse me, Ustick Road from Cole to Mountain View Drive. And so in between there will be no vehicular access, hopefully. And we'll have stages of artists, pop up, street performances, food, the whole shebang. We'd love you to come down.
Well, Devin, I want to thank you so much for coming on again and talking to us about this. We've been speaking with Devin McComas. He is the executive director of the Boise Bicycle Project. We've been talking about this Sunday's Open Streets Boise. It will be on Ustick Road in West Boise. We'll make sure to put some links on our website so you know exactly where that is. And that website is boisestatepublicradio.org. You've been listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. I'm Gemma Gaudette.